Across the vast expanse of the universe, trade and commerce remain the heartbeat of daily life, and wherever a deal is struck, there is one name that looms above every transaction: the International Peace Corporation. Once a group of humble devotees of Clafot, they started off as a small logistical crew, shuttling essentials like stone, wood, gold, and alloys across different planets. As time passed by, their ambitions widened, until eventually they grew to become the most powerful intergalactic business empire in existence. Over time, this expansion propelled the IPC to the forefront of countless industries, such as technology, agriculture, finance, and even security. And with such a large portfolio, organization is required, leading to the formation of several departments to keep things running like clockwork. From the zealous Department of Marketing and Development to the understated Traditional Projects Department, each group within the IPC serves a unique purpose. Yet, even among the IPC's 7 key divisions, one stands out as a driving force behind its continued dominance: the Strategic Investments Department. Unlike others, this department doesn't chase fleeting profits. Instead, it makes bold long-term plays with investments spanning years if not centuries, all aimed at one audacious goal: complete financial supremacy across entire star systems. Throughout its storied existence, the Strategic Investment Department has attained multiple achievements, but these achievements have only become more impressive ever since the current director Diamond took over. His success can be accredited to his unorthodox leadership and the elite team under his umbrella, known as the 10 Stonehearts. Each of these individuals come from vastly different origins, and their personalities are as diverse as they are controversial. What ties this group of individuals together is a shared purpose: to fulfill their own deepest wishes and ultimately be of use to Clafot when the war among the Eons inevitably arrives. And yet, despite the IPC's overall ever-expanding corporate empire, its original goal still remains the same. Every ounce of wealth amassed, every strategy executed, and every alliance forged is ultimately all in the name of the Amber Lord. After the events of the Xianzhou Lawfu, the Astral Express find themselves with time to spare before their next journey. Right on cue, a message from Belobog arrives, inviting them back to the city. With the Stellaron suppressed, Eurula 6 has now reconnected with the Silver Rail and is beginning to re-establish communications with the wider galaxy. To celebrate, Belobog is hosting its first annual Soulworm Festival, and Bronya personally invites the crew to join in on the festivities. Excited at the chance to reunite with old friends, March and the Trailblazer get ready to go back to the snowy planet. Danheng, however, decides to stay behind, as the events of the Lawfu have left him exhausted. The pair also try to invite Himiko along, but she gently declines, encouraging the two to go out and enjoy the festivities on her behalf. And as our protagonists make their way down to Belobog, it seems they are not the only intergalactic visitors on the planet.
Belobog. 700 years. It's never too late to pick up the tab.
Setting foot on Eurula 6 once more, March and the Trailblazer are greeted by the sight of a frozen landscape. Though the weather feels warmer and the snow is starting to melt, it's clear that the planet has a long way to go before recovering from the Stellaron's effects and becoming widely habitable again. As they near the outskirts of Belobog, they come across a group of soldiers dressed in black uniforms. March quickly recognizes them as members of the IPC, and among them, a young woman who appears to be their leader steps forward. A high-ranking IPC member and one of the enigmatic 10 Stonehearts, Topaz is an investment expert dedicated to loyally driving the corporation's growth. Off the clock, however, she has a softer side, often buried in cute animals, including her trusty warp trotter Nambi. Topaz introduces herself, explaining that she's on Eurula 6 for a business assignment. Upon learning that March and the Trailblazer are nameless, she commends them for saving the planet from the Stellaron. The group then exchange pleasantries and contact information before parting ways. While March and the Trailblazer head into the city to reunite with old friends, Topaz makes her way straight to the Supreme Guardian's office to begin talks with Bronya. Simply put, she's here to collect a debt owed to the IPC. See, 700 years ago, before the Stellaron's descent, Belobog hosted many intergalactic visitors, including IPC representatives. However, when the disaster appeared, the IPC withdrew, but generously provided massive loans to the natives to help them prepare. These funds are what made it possible to build Belobog's massive walls and automatons, securing the city's survival. But shortly after, Europa 6 was cut off from the galaxy. It was assumed that the planet had been destroyed, and the IPC wrote off the debt as a loss. But now, with the crisis resolved and its civilization still intact, Topaz has arrived to settle the IPC's account with interest. The sum is astronomical, and Topaz warns Bronya that if payments were delayed, she had the authority to take strong measures on behalf of the IPC. Aware of the corporation's power from historical records, Bronya understands that Belobog could easily be crushed if she refuses, so she requests time to consider her options, and Topaz accepts, using the opportunity to leave and assess Belobog's assets. Meanwhile, March and the Trailblazer visit the underground to meet old friends, only to find Zila clashing with a group of IPC soldiers. These soldiers had reportedly forced out the miners to assess the area's mineral deposits, bringing them into conflict with several members of Wildfire. Seeing the locals in trouble, the pair join forces with Zila to drive the IPC grunts out of the mines. Just as the dust settles, Bronya sends an urgent message to March and the Trailblazer, requesting them to meet her at Clefont Fort for an important discussion. Once there, Bronya explains Belobog's debt situation and shares a message earlier sent by Topaz outlining a potential solution to resolve the debt.
Miss Bronya, if you'll permit me to call you that, I'd like to share a story with you from my own life. In your eyes, the IPC may seem heartless or cruel, but in reality, we all have a story to tell. As for myself, I was born on a small, unremarkable planet at the edge of the galaxy. My home planet was extremely resource poor. To survive, people worked laboriously, manufacturing products for other civilizations in the galaxy, mostly in chemical or heavy industries. Given these circumstances, the natural environment of my home planet became increasingly harsh. All you could hear were the wheezing coughs of the people, day and night. My home was facing its demise. The relatively wealthy chose interstellar migration and started anew. The majority who stayed could only struggle on amidst sewage, acid rain, and dust, waiting for the end. Finally, one fateful day, the IPC arrived on my home planet. They had the technology to repair our planet's damaged environment. In return for their help, they asked for just one thing: that all inhabitants sign a contract which would make them employees of the IPC. 2 years after signing the contract, the dark clouds and haze disappeared, and people began to take off their masks. After 3 years, vegetation and trees began to grow and thrive again. After 5 years, many animals, previously on the brink of extinction, reappeared. When I was finally old enough, I officially became a member of the Strategic Investment Department. I witnessed the changes that took place on my home world and was determined to bring the same changes to many other worlds in the galaxy that were experiencing the same plight. I am writing to you, Miss Bronya, with the genuine desire to express something important. I know freedom is precious to people, but in reality, there are things of much greater value, such as survival. How many generations of Belobogians will it take to embrace the stars again without assistance? Who can guarantee that every future Guardian will be as prudent and enlightened as you? How can you guarantee that a disaster such as the Stellaron crisis will not descend upon Belobog yet again? I have already negotiated the best possible deal for you. Once you sign this contract, all of Belobog's debts will be forgiven. I can understand that for you, this is an extremely difficult decision because you, and you alone, will bear the fate of all Belobogians. But because of this, I believe that you will make the right decision. A decision that will truly benefit your people.
While her intentions seem sincere, the proposal was something the people of Belobog, with their newfound freedom, would likely hesitate to accept. Faced with this dilemma, Bronya decides to put the matter to a vote and asks the Trailblazer in March to gather the opinions of the citizens. Seeing the situation, the Trailblazer also contacts Himiko and the Astral Express to inform them on Belobog's predicament. Elsewhere, Topaz herself seeks out Svarog and asks him to guide her to a massive automaton factory hidden within the underworld. As a way to help Belobog, Topaz was hoping this factory could serve as leverage to convince IPC shareholders that Euro 6 was indeed a valuable investment. Svarog agrees, as his calculations indicate that this plan offers the best chance for the people of Euro 6 to prosper. But even on their way to the factory, they are met with some resistance.
These guys don't look like thieves.
By order of the Supreme Guardian, proceed no further, Miss Topaz.
Belobog might be in arrears, but I'm out of pocket. See you later, Captain.
Back with our heroes, they finish gathering the people's opinions, only to find them evenly divided. Some support the idea of a prosperous planet under the IPC's trusteeship, while others fiercely defend Belobog's hard-won freedom. And even when returning to Clafont Fort, they find the place in chaos.
Enough! All of you! I know what to do. Wait!
I have something to say to the Supreme Guardian.
Himiko arrives unexpectedly with critical information from Bronya about the IPC. While Topaz's home planet did thrive thanks to an ecological reconstruction project, the overall success rate for such initiatives is only 63%. And even though Topaz herself is highly capable, there are still some risks involved. Learning this and unwilling to gamble with her people's future, Bronya decides not to sign the IPC contract. Instead, she thinks of an idea that requires everyone's cooperation. The Nameless are tasked with finding Topaz and keeping her busy, giving Bronya the time she needs to put the plan into motion. When the Nameless finally do track Topaz and her officers down to the large automaton factory, they resort to a classic method of stalling. Good old combat. But before things can get too serious, Bronya arrives in the nick of time, defusing the situation. She makes a heartfelt appeal to Topaz, asking for a chance to show her something that could change her perspective and earn her support. Impressed by Bronya's determination, Topaz agrees to hear her out and humors her request. Thus, the party departs for the north of Belobog.
Look, the people of Belobog have not given up. I just want to give them a chance.
Witnessing the unwavering determination of the Belobogians and their resolve to rebuild their home with their own hands leaves Topaz deeply moved. For 700 years they had persevered through relentless snow, and it makes her wonder if her own planet's fate might have been different if its people and leaders had shown the same resilience as the Belobogians. Moved by Bronya's words, Topaz decides to let them repay the loan on more lenient terms, with the Astral Express serving as guarantors of credit. Though she knows this decision may have serious repercussions on her career and likely be seen as a failure by the IPC, Topaz wanted to see just how much the people of Belobog could stand on their own terms. And knowing these people, there was no doubt that their fire would burn far into the future.
In light of the events that have transpired, we will be taking the following disciplinary measures against you. Your rank will be demoted from P45 to P44 with corresponding adjustment to your basic salary. All bonuses for the current cycle will be revoked, including stock options and performance bonuses. You will need to submit an additional report regarding this incident to Diamond. If you have any objections to this penalty, you may also file an appeal in writing.
I have no objections.
Understood. If there are no further remarks, this meeting is concluded.
You only got demoted 1 rank? Whew, you dodged a bullet there. Pretty big project to mess up on. Someone must be looking out for you. Ugh, this voice changer is driving me crazy.
Let me turn it off.
Aventurine, why are you still on the line?
Hey, what's with the hostility? It's not like I'm your boss. Oh wait, I guess I am now. My apologies, I'm still getting used to my new place in the hierarchy.
If you've got something to say it already.
Oh, nothing important. Just checking in on you. I told you Eurillo 6 would be a high-risk, low-reward case. Why do you even bother? In our line of work, having a kind heart can be more of a liability than an asset. If you're not careful, you'll end up leading yourself down a dead-end road.
Anything else? If not, I'm hanging up.
Wait, hold on a minute. Don't hang up, I get it. You're not in the mood for this conversation right now. Okay, how about this? Something that might interest you. I'm currently at Pierpoint. There's a major deal that could affect the whole department. I just so happen to need a reliable project manager for the job. What do you say, old friend?
Huh. And what prompted the mighty Aventurine to start collaborating with others?
Penacony. What else?
What?
That's right. Now that's the kind of reaction I was hoping for.
Hold on a minute. Diamond picked you for this project? I was expecting someone like Opal or Obsidian to handle it. At least someone higher than rank P46.
Honestly, who knows? The family has some pretty questionable characters. If you ask me, doing business with them is a lost cause. But as we both know, the IPC does more than just business deals. Guess it's my time to shine. So, how about it? This is a rare opportunity. Consider it. You never know, you might even be able to make up for your blunder on your Eurillo 6.
Seems like it's just one wild ride after another. I hope I made the right decision this time.
And that is a wrap on Chapter 3.5 of the story recap. If you enjoyed our time together, be sure to help me out by liking, sharing, and commenting down below on some of your favorite things about this arc. Links in the description if you want to buy me a coffee, and if you're new around here, hi, I'm the Star Rail Crusader, and I have a whole series covering the previous chapters of Star Rail for you to enjoy by hitting that big red button. So, it's been a month since my last video, and some of you are probably like, where'd the Crusader go? Well, good news! I tried to write the Penacony script. Keyword though is tried. Turns out, simplifying a murder mystery with incomplete plot points is pretty hard, so naturally I took a short break and played Final Fantasy XVI. Huge mistake, massive in fact. That game was such a letdown, it drained my motivation even more. Then I thought, alright, let's wait for the anniversary livestream, that'll bring me back for sure. And honestly, it did. Castros was gorgeous, Synaxa was cracked, they were giving out limited 5 stars, they were throwing out wishes like confetti, characters were getting buffs, it was an amazing program. And then right at the end, they hit us with this.
最后还有一则讯息想带给各位开拓者，就像先前提到的，铁道主线往往是提前1年以上进行筹备，不确定性大，难免会留下一些缺憾。其中之一就是匹诺康尼受限于当时的剧情体量，原案中的部分故事线没能完全落地，而上线后，我们也看到玩家为这些内容留白感到了遗憾。我们也觉得这部分缺失是很难用普通的开拓序文或后日谈来补全的，所以铁道今年会做一次新的尝试，在 3.8 这一个版本，我们将上线周末任务《记忆是梦》的开场白。
On the one hand, I am over the moon because they're actually going back and revisiting the story and making things make sense, which is amazing for me because Penacony had so many moments where I was just sitting there like, bro, what? Like how Argenti randomly just pops up in a game show, then rescues Aventurine, Sparkle decides to just impersonate Robin for fun, and what was Firefly even doing in Penacony in the first place? It was chaos. So yeah, seeing them dedicate an entire patch to explain all that had me doing cartwheels. Problem is though, this patch is 3.8, that'll take place after Amphorius. as in sometime next year. So now, as the self-appointed Star Rail Crusader, I'm in a dilemma. Everyone's asking for part 4 of the story recap, bless your souls, I love you for it. But the story isn't even finished yet, which means the next episode of my most beloved series might not drop for another year. And as a content creator, that makes me just want to scream in the void and throw my keyboard out the window. A year's a long time! So, to keep the recap series from going totally cold, I've decided to start covering side arcs to keep it alive, and that's what this video is all about. I got plans to cover stuff like Penacony and the War Dance Festival, but I think even with those, I might still not have enough material to last me until next year. Which is why I'm starting a brand new recap series for another gacha game. So, I looked at my options and boiled it down to 3 other choices. The first, of course, is Genshin. Genshin does have some amazing lore and characters I really love, but man, the storytelling lately has been kinda rough, I'm not gonna lie. Natlan feels like a big step down compared to Fontaine or early Inazuma, and let's be real, I don't want to sit through another 100 hours of Paimon yelling in my ear. Honestly, I could probably make a recap episode with Paimon narrating the whole thing, because that's basically how the writers treat her, a floating diaper of an exposition dump. The second game I looked at was Zenless Zone Zero. Honestly, the storytelling here is actually pretty solid, more consistent than Genshin even. There's definitely a lot of cool stuff like the sibling backstory and the whole world collapsed on hollows. Problem is though that every character has this sort of Saturday morning cartoon energy. Not in a bad way, but everyone's so over the top it kind of feels like watching a superhero parody. Fun, sure, but not really my thing. The real problem with this game though is the UI. The editing for the story recap is built off simplicity, and the UI in ZZZ is just so in your face and distracting that I could not find a way to make it look clean. But for now, yeah, we're not doing Zenless Zone Zero. My last option was Withering Waves, and I'm happy to say this is the one that I'm going to choose for the next story recap. At first, the one thing that was holding me back here was the voice acting, which let's just say I wasn't exactly blown away from it early on. But to their credit, the devs and the localizers have really stepped it up, especially in the later arcs. So yeah, that's the current game plan for the story recap series. The next episode should hopefully drop in about a month or so. So thanks a ton for sticking with me until then. In the meantime, I'm working on the next design gazette and let's just say it's gonna be a good one. So until then, my dear Trailblazer, may your journey lead you ever starward